Hey friends, it's David Ledbetter. Today we're making a super easy, beginner-friendly tri-tip recipe, and it's only 3 steps. I love to do this with my pellet smoker, but if you don't have something like that, you can even make this recipe in the oven. Before we jump to step 1, I'm also sort of cheating a little bit by using this ChefsTemp ProTemp Plus wireless thermometer. To be honest with you, I spent years trying to perfect tri-tip because it can be a little bit tricky to cook, but ever since owning this, my tri-tip comes out absolutely perfect every time. So step 1, we're going to prep the meat. This right here is an untrimmed tri-tip, meaning it still has a lot of the fat on it, which I kind of like, although it's a little bit more work to trim it up. Most of the tri-tips that you're gonna find in the store or at Costco are pre-trimmed, which is super convenient, but I kind of like being able to choose how much fat I want on the meat. The biggest thing is taking off these large chunks of fat, which probably won't render out and won't taste very good. However, I am going to leave a small 1/8 inch cap or so on the back of the tri-tip to help protect the meat, and also just a little bit of rendered fat with each bite is delicious. These thin layers of connective tissue are called silver skin. They're tough and chewy and they don't melt down like fat does, so we're gonna use our sharp knife to carefully get under there and slice those off as well. Once everything looks good to you, it's time to season. This is the fun part. You can choose whatever you want. I prefer a salt and pepper heavy dry rub, like this Grim Reaper from How Low Can You Slow. It has a little bit of activated charcoal in it, which gives the meat a super black, amazing looking bark on the outside. Season heavily, since this is a large cut of beef, and then let the meat just sit out on the counter for about 30 minutes or so. You'll see that salt and those spices start to dissolve. All right, step 2, it's time to start cooking it. The method we're doing today is super easy. It's called a reverse sear, and the idea is to slowly cook the tri-tip at a low temperature to let the fat have time to render and get juicy. And then right before it's done cooking, we're going to sear it off on the grill. To make this absurdly easy, like I said, I'm inserting the ProTemp Plus probe right into the thickest part of the meat, making sure that the ceramic tip is about 1 centimeter away from any meat or metal objects inside your smoker or oven. This is important to ensure accurate readings and prevent any interference. Then we're just gonna put this inside our smoker or oven at 225 degrees. Then you pretty much just sit back and have a drink inside the AC. My smoker is right next to a window, so I can literally put my thermometer display in the windowsill and keep an eye on everything while I relax. And what's really cool is that as long as this housing unit is connected to my home Wi-Fi, I can check on the probe from literally anywhere. So if I need to run to the store and grab something or want to go hang out on the golf course, I can do that. Okay, step 3, it's time to sear this thing. After about 2 hours or so, the meat should be somewhere around 120 to 125. This could take shorter or longer depending on the day or how hot your smoker or oven runs, but mine was about 2 hours. And at this point, you want to have your gas grill, cast iron pan, or griddle super hot, and we're just gonna sear off the outsides, no more than 1 to 2 minutes aside. You can even sear off the edges to make sure that it gets that nice, delicious crust all the way around. And now all that's left to do is let it rest. This can be the hardest step just because you're so excited to eat, you want to feed your family, but you really don't want to skip this step. Letting your meat rest after cooking is crucial to letting it reabsorb the juices back into the muscle fibers. If you slice it when it's still hot off the grill, all that amazing juice will just spill out onto your cutting board and your counter, and your meat will dry out. Ask me how I know. I wrap my tri-tips really tightly in foil and let them rest on the counter like that for about an hour before slicing. The meat will continue to cook on the counter and raise the internal temperature a little bit, so don't freak out, this is normal. It's called a carryover cook, and it's something you want to calculate for if you can. So I pulled this tri-tip off the smoker at 126 degrees, seared it on the grill until it was about 130, and then rested it on the counter and it went up to about 137 before coming back down. And then I just waited until it was back at 125 before slicing. When you slice any meat, you always want to cut in the opposite direction that the muscle fibers are running. This is called slicing against the grain, and it makes your meat way more tender and enjoyable when you eat it. To do this properly on a tri-tip, you want to make a cut about 1/3 of the way down from the thick end, and then turn the thinner side 45 degrees before slicing. For the thick side, you'll turn it 90 degrees before slicing. And this ensures that each slice has an amazing looking honeycomb shape that just pulls apart when you take a bite. One popular way to serve tri-tip is with a simple chimichurri sauce. I use this super easy dry mix from How Low Can You Slow again, and all you add is red wine vinegar and olive oil. and it creates a velvety smooth, citrusy, just fresh herb sauce, and it pairs perfectly with the richness of the tri-tip. Okay, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching, my friends, and happy grilling.